Hey guys, so after 3 years, Christmas Island is finally open. You can see on the map it's about 3 hours south of Hawaii. I would almost say it's kind of like the middle of nowhere, literally, at least in the Pacific Ocean. So the first day you fly to Hawaii and stay there overnight, which I'm glad we flew this day because you can see it was super windy, which would have made fishing kind of interesting. And kind of a random thing, but there was a rooster that was right outside the airport in Hawaii, which was not the first thing I expected to see. So I basically spent the day loading up on whatever I could eat because I heard the food was fairly sparse on the island. This was interesting because McDonald's actually had Portuguese sausage for breakfast, which I had to order. 3 hours later, we were at Christmas Island. And unfortunately, the cloud cover didn't let me take too much video, but got enough of an opening to see some of the flats we'd be fishing, which are basically those islands you see that are slightly submerged down there. I'm gonna give that landing a 6 out of 10. So you can see the island is fairly rustic, and I actually didn't have cell coverage or internet for the whole week, which I haven't experienced since the 90s, so it's kind of good to get away. So here's my room for the week, and you can see that it's pretty basic. And it wasn't the Ritz, but it was clean enough, at least for me. I didn't find any roaches in my room, which I can't say the same for Hawaii. So I basically rigged up an 8 weight and an 11 weight, one for bonefish and one for any giant trevally that might come across. So every morning was basically wake up at 5:15, eat breakfast, and be on the truck around 6:30 to 7. The boat launch was pretty short, which is good because the roads, as you can see, weren't in the best shape.
Early in the season, yeah, it's starting.
It's kind of cool to see there was life right at the docks, which was a good sign for fishing. Those were little puffers. And these little crabs here, you almost stepped on just because they were so blended in.
It's the same as the old guys at the Huntington Beach launch ramp. Drinking their coffee with their dog, watching.
Well, this flat is Paris, and we were here because based on the moon, there were schools of bonefish that were swimming around here. So you get an idea of how important the guide is here because they spot the fish when you can't, and I couldn't see anything at the start or in low light. Eventually I got a little bit better, but they tell you to cast in a certain direction, you cast.
One more that one?
Not sure why I'm holding the rod so high. I guess I still use the trot. And the other cool thing about fishing these flats is you never know what you're going to hook up with. At first I thought it was a bonefish, but you'll see that it actually wasn't bonefish.
Is it thick?
Yeah. No, Nice. On the board. So you can hear him telling me to strip at a certain rate because every fish had a preferred rate of retrieval, and that's all part of the learning curve. And the other thing about flats fishing is you got to be ready to recast because you could be hung up on some coral, the fish could be moving, or the wind just messed up your cast. So being able to just fire off another cast was critical. Yeah, the funny thing with some of these bonefish is, which this one was, is you expect them to go flying out, but some of the times they just kind of hung around until they got closer, and then you would see them just scream off in the other direction. While others, they just turned right away and broke me off. There it goes. My next video is probably going to be more focused on the bonefish fishing, so I'll do one for bonefish, triggerfish, and trevally. There was just so much to see here that I couldn't fit it all in one video, so I think it made sense to just split it up into individual videos. This actually ended up being my first bonefish ever, which pumped me up. So there was actually quite a bit of flats hopping, and here you can see him handing me my 11 weight. Whenever they hand you the big gun, you know things were about to get real because that meant trevally or something big was around. This one was cool just because it was a trevally following a triggerfish. And that blow up was him basically turning around, making a dash at my fly, and then missing it. So this is a great example of what the majority of trigger fishing is, or at least was for me. And that's casting to them and they either don't take, or casting to them and they suddenly spook. There were some instances where I actually had them take and then I lost them in the fight, which I'll cover in a separate video like I said before. They're really spooky. So this was from a later date. It wasn't day one, but it was a great example of how fast they swim, and then also you can see what they kind of look like swimming away. Cool guy. There you go. And one final thing that I kind of did on the flats was basically just blind cast into the deep blue. You never knew what you were going to get, and it was also a great way to pass time while you're waiting for the boat, like I was here. Oops. One of the interesting things I noticed was the birds seemed to be concentrated on certain islands. And when you found one of these islands, there was just an insane amount of birds on them. Here, I think the boat driver went to take a dump and basically scared every single bird on the island. These were little crab holes that were also on the island. This pretty much summed up day one. I did catch a lot of fish, and I'll show a lot of them in the future videos that I mentioned before. But basically, once you were done fishing around 4 o'clock, you went back and there was dinner around 6 or maybe 5:30ish. And you can see the food was a lot better than expected. There was even lobster tail, which I don't eat. But it was generally like beef or chicken, plus some carbs. That boat in the distance was the reason why we thought the trevally weren't as plentiful on the flats as expected. They were just hanging out the side, eating fish guts, basically. I hope this video gave you a taste of Christmas Island, and I'll get into a lot more hardcore fishing in some of the future videos, but if you want to see more, please subscribe, and hope you have a good one. Bye.